The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are not necessarily representative of the coalition or any other entity. This content is intended for mature audiences only.
Throwdown.
What is going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown, episode 138. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
We are back, baby.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Carlos Romero.
What up?
Brian Manjoma.
Yo.
Brett Murdoch.
Hey, everybody.
And Adam Vale.
Titanfall 2 for life.
Still talking about that shit, man.
More DLC. They just announced more DLC coming next week. Free.
Yo, Adam, you look like mad small on the screen right there, man. There you go, motherfucker. All right, so we're back with the first normal Throwdown after E3. You know, even though we're still going to be talking about some E3 stuff, but yes, normal episode for the night. Glad to be back. You know, quick shout out to the Press Start podcast. I pulled double duty tonight, people. I was on two podcasts tonight. With my man Kofi, Erica, Jack Move, you know, Jay Main, and Alex. I never met Alex before, so it was good to, you know, talk with those guys about games, man. Mad respect to Kofi for having like 6 dudes on his show, million topics, and still keeping it under 90 minutes. We can't do that on Throwdown for some reason.
His arguments come out. That's why I'm getting to the deep discussion.
We get crazy on Throwdown, man. But yeah, man, I don't really want to waste any time with this, so I want to jump into it. I want to talk about this Project Scorpio madness, or Xbox One X, right? Manny and I gave you our impressions of it after the show, but now we want to dive into the technical shit, right? How does this compare to the specs we heard about to what it actually does? And now obviously we're going to talk about the whole 4K. I'm saying that with heavy quotes, 4K thing going on with Microsoft, because again, they're kind of twisting the definition of shit to what is and isn't 4K. Very, very interesting. But let's start off with, you know, again, let's do the technical shit first. Carlos, start us off, man. What did you think about this thing technically compared to what was rumored before to what it actually is?
So this box, from when it was announced till when it's released, is pretty much what we've been saying this whole time it's going to be. It's pretty much a mid-tier PC. What does a mid-tier PC right now in 2017 do, and 2016 when it was announced to? And it's going to play every game at 1080p pretty fine. It's going to be what the Xbox One should have been from the get-go, because I mean they promised us 1080p, but I guess we're going to get it now with Xbox One X. But as far as 4K, and we harken back into this every time. They mentioned it from day one. No compromises. They repeated it constantly. So this box is gonna have compromises. They're throwing you the first thing, and it's good marketing, because the first game they threw at you was Forza Motorsport 7. That game's gonna do 4K 60 frames more than likely. So like everyone's gonna start thinking, oh man, Forza Motorsport 7 can do 4K 60 frames. Every game's gonna be able to do that now. No, that's not gonna be the case. Most third-party AAA games aren't gonna be able to do it. They're gonna have to do like some like sort of checkerboarding. They're gonna have to lower down the frame rates. You know, they're not gonna be in the ultra settings that all the games on PC can do. They might be able to do native 4K, but they're gonna have compromises. So yeah, like who knows what it's gonna do like when that shit's live. Like depends on what developers want to compromise. Are they gonna want to do native 4K, render those 4K textures and lower the frame rate a little bit so they won't have like a constant frame rate? What are they gonna sacrifice? Some games obviously are gonna do 4K 60 frames like with no hiccups. Like for example, the Fox platformer game, because that game doesn't require that much resources. It might be a really good game, but it's not going to be an intensive performance game, which is fine. But don't get it twisted with, like, not all games are going to be this 4K 60 frames. My PC, I just recently got a 1080 Ti, and I have a 6770K, which is a 4 gigahertz i7 processor. And that's not going to do all games 4K 60 frames per second. It's going to get close, but it's not going to do all games 4K, and that's way more powerful than whatever Xbox One X is.
Yeah, and this, I mean, if you guys can see my screen right here, hope I'm not muted. No, I'm not. Okay, so this is Microsoft's, you know, they broke down what is 4K, what isn't 4K, right? See, maybe I'm stupid, right? Because I thought real 4K was 2160 and that's it, right? Apparently not. This is what it says, right from Microsoft. A game, a 4K Ultra HD. What is that? A game has 2160p frame buffer output. This includes native 4K. Okay, I'm with you so far, Microsoft. Checkerboarding, and dynamic resolution. Chris, what's your take on that, man? Like, are these dudes really twisting shit now so they could like get away with saying 4K when it isn't 4K at all?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, you have to redefine what it is, right? And 4K itself isn't really a standard. There's a couple of standards, so they can kind of bend it and add these things and then go, oh, we're offering you our 4K, but our definition of 4K. Like Samsung and Sony both have two different definitions of 4K, even the data output. So Microsoft just says like, oh, okay, so we'll take these shortcuts because the hardware can't do actual 4K like straight. So we'll have to make these compromises, or just call it what it is. And but then we'll define it as, but that's our 4K, right? That's our output. That's our gaming 4K, you know?
Well, there was a term for that. Something facts. Kellyanne Conway said it.
Alternative.
Alternative.
It's alternative 4K.
Jesus Christ, man. And the funny thing is, obviously, and I need to jump in with this shit, right? With the fanboys specifically saying for a whole year, checkerboarding is fake 4K. The PS4 Pro was stupid for doing that. Come to find out, a lot of these games on the Scorpio are doing the same thing. And I have to add again, and we're gonna do this a lot in this episode. We told you motherfuckers this shit. We told you that those third-party games are mostly going to be using whatever they're using on PS4 Pro on the Scorpio. They're not going to go out of their way to, like, resource-wise and shit, to go like so heavy with 4K on a game that's probably not going to sell as much as another one. You know what I'm saying? They're going to take the path of least resistance. And if you saw the conference, right, all the games they said that were being enhanced, all on the fucking Pro. Except for the exclusives, obviously. Isn't that funny?
That little list, you go through that fun little list of games that just flashed by, and like all the games that'll take advantage of it was Rhyme and a bunch of other games that were all PlayStation Pro enhanced are also Xbox enhanced.
Yeah, and then the other thing is Mike Ibarra, he was saying that the Scorpio, I'm still calling it Scorpio. Fucking the Xbox One X is such a stupid fucking name.
It sounds like S.
Can I point out while we're on this? It is not only the dumbest name, but if you write it down, of the two iterations, you have Xbone X, which sounds like the online gamer tag of a 14-year-old, or Xbones. Like, I don't know who doesn't understand abbreviation over at Microsoft, but you're making some poor fucking choices.
Yeah, dude, it's fucking bad.
The stupidest thing that they made about that is that the one that they call the S, they shouldn't have called it the S. They should have called the new one the S, big for Scorpio, right?
Yeah, that means Xbox One has had a dumb name since the beginning. Remember when Xbox One was like, it was like, wait, what do you mean Xbox One? The old one? You know what I'm saying? But the thing I want to talk about is, and Brian, I'm bringing you in this one specifically. What do you make of Mike Ibarra saying that Scorpio is comparable to like a $1,500 PC?
Same shit, different day. Like, I've been hearing that since the PS4 launch. It's like, oh, this new console box is more powerful than your PC. It comes out. Turns out not to be true. Oh, this new console box.
Well, there's an asterisk next to it. And if you look at the asterisk in the little fine print, it means a $1,500 PC a decade ago.
Yeah.
Or if you're buying it like from the government or something. Like
or an Alienware. That's one thing
but Brian, going on that, why do developers keep saying this nonsense when it's never going to be true?
Because people are stupid.
God damn
that's it. People are stupid. Like, that's the true fact. Like, people don't understand how numbers work. It's like you have one number that's a high number, you have one number that's not as high of a number. not that hard to figure it out, but people just don't want to accept the facts. But no, like as much as I like the idea of the Xbox One X in the terms of okay, it's cool tech, the price is reasonable, it's irrelevant. Like unless it can do stuff that that the regular Xbox can't do, which pretty much Microsoft said that it won't do, then what's the point?
Let me upgrade it at least.
No, you're not allowed to.
Oh, I know. It would be a much more fair investment if you were allowed to upgrade. But Brian, while we're on you, I have a question for you. Have you seen many PC games that code their resolution to be able to really make a noticeable difference in 4K? Like I personally haven't run across any PC games where if you put them in 4K, I think that you'd see a lot more detail. But you might know better than me. Are there games out there that are pandering specifically towards 4K, even in PCs?
Not really. They just try and hit the resolution that they want to, and then the rest is history. Like 4K is just a nicety to have, and like games look nicer, and you can get away without AA because of like how close the pixels are. But apart from that, it's not really anything else. It's just hey, the same game, just more detail. That's it.
So yeah, not even necessarily more detail, just the same details a little bit crisper from what I've seen. And so I guess my question is like, why does everybody you have PC as a testing ground? It is this vast fucking wasteland of early access games and people trying new things and people pushing hardware in different ways. And you have certain things that have caught on, certain things that haven't caught on, and then inevitably a few years later, those things move to console. So without seeing a precedent towards gearing PC gaming towards 4K, what makes anybody think that 4K is the next important thing in console gaming? Like, how did we arrive at the standard where we all just agreed that 4K is going to be the next thing? Like, PC gaming doesn't really care.
It's the industry wanting to sell TVs, and they're like, oh, look, 4K. Well, we need other things that can work on it. All right, 4K movies and games. Yeah, fucking do the games.
Well,
that's
4K
all it is.
4K is the natural evolution of of media. Like it's inevitable. It's not like 3D that's a gimmick and it's just gonna die, or VR which is gonna die. Like 4K.
You'll leave those words.
You'll rule the day you said those words.
Yeah, go ahead, Carlos.
So yeah, like 4K is the natural evolution. The reason why Microsoft, like all these guys, like Sony and Microsoft, know that it's inevitable, so they want to be first to the hit to get the 4K audience. So that's
you're right about
reason
that. Again, this is something that's come up on Twitter a lot, right? And I kind of tend to agree with it. They're saying that 4K is easier to market than like higher frame rates, right? Because and I've learned this myself. I was on the other camp, and I've learned myself. Frame rates actually affect your actual gameplay, right? A lot of these people don't understand that, but it's hard to market that, right?
How about you bump up the processing power until you can introduce new game mechanics? I mean, fuck. How about the very simple idea of voxel-based games? Why can games not evolve?
No one's talking about that, as far as this is concerned. So,
dude, voxels are the obvious evolution from fucking polygons. They're a completely interactive way to build a video game. But the problem is that we don't have the processing power in almost anything to actually handle a voxel-based game. But nobody wants to fucking talk about that shit. Like we're going to be talking about voxels in 20 years the way that we used to talk about like bits and pixels, like before we moved to fucking polygons.
Yeah, like 3D Dot Game Heroes was voxels.
No, there are games that take advantage of voxels, and they're awesome games. But it should be the standard. The way that the way that they made polygons, and generally the way that polygons work is you're kind of building these shapes. And all the main differences between polygons and voxels is voxels build those shapes out of many smaller shapes, so you can augment those shapes through the game. So an armor made out of polygons, the best you can do if you want to do like character damage is put a new paint job over the top. But voxels let you augment the shape of the armor. Like if you get a blaster hit in the shoulder, it'll take a little chink of that armor out, and then the game can actually figure out well now your shoulder's exposed, so if that same laser beam hits your shoulder, you take body damage instead of armor damage. it's a more sophisticated way to build a game that opens up a plethora of new gameplay options, the least of which is destructible environments. And it's the reason in Space Engineers you can crash a ship into another ship and both the ships take real-time damage. That kind of thing isn't available until you move into building games out of voxels. But again, we can't build games out of voxels because processing power for most gaming systems or most PCs is still so lacking. So we have this wide open field to advance on this one side, and on this other side they're like, well, how can we really increase the fidelity? There's not really a whole lot of room to increase the fidelity of the visuals, so we're all going to chase after 4K, but there's all this room open to actually build upon the way that we play games, and nobody seems to be taking advantage of that. And I guess that's my rant.
No, you're right about that, because people just go with whatever works, right? But that's the other thing I do want to bring up, though. It's like, and again, I always look stupid when I say this, because I've been saying this as far as the PS2 era, and I always get proven wrong every generation, but I'm going to just say it even if I look dumb. I think we've reached the cap of a sort when it comes to graphics, right? Like, games aren't really looking that great. Like, remember when you went from PS2 to PS3, it was fucking mind-blowing, right? But when you went to PS3 to PS4, it's like, it looks a little better, right? So now the only thing it seems like they could do is push more 4K, push 8K or whatever. But I'm like, is that really making games any better? Because it really isn't. You're just seeing more shiny shit. You know what I'm saying?
You're saying the game industry is in the same boat as the cell phone industry?
I think, because even cell phones, Adam, I think you told me, it's people aren't really buying as many cell phones because the phone from 3 years ago is just as good as a modern one.
Yeah.
So,
people aren't really as amazed with the games, and that's what they were trying to sell for a long time. Remember, it's you can get BioShock on your iPad and on your phone. No.
But again, selling gameplay is very hard. Selling graphics is easy. And that's where these companies go for. And then, the gamers, the fanboys, they make it easier for these companies to grow with that because they're all about 4K. It's like, guys, most of you motherfuckers don't even have 4K TVs. Why are you touting 4K when you don't even have this shit? Let's just.
And most of your AI sucks.
And the other thing is that, again, obviously, because it is the visuals that they're trying to sell to people, they don't tell you the other part of things. It's like, okay, so I don't have a 4K TV. So what are the improvements I'm going to see over my game while I'm running it on a 1080p television? Yeah,
they don't do a very good job of.
They don't do a very good job of explaining any of that. Tomb Raider did it. When they put Tomb Raider on the PlayStation Pro, they actually showed you side by side. There's additional draw distance, or you can choose better frame rate. You can these different things that you can do on the 1080 end of these things. But on the Xbox, it doesn't really do any of that. They just kind of say, you'll see improvements.
Yeah, but I'm glad you bring up Tomb Raider, because that's one of a few games, and few games that actually have differences, even for 1080p people, right? Most of the time with the Pro, right, what you get is bumped up 4K textures. Not 4K, but 4K-ish textures. 1080, and that's it. And that's what's happening with the fucking Scorpio now. The same shit we were telling you guys, right? What is it? Anthem, Assassin's Creed, and now Project Cars. Everything's compromised now. Just like we told you guys, you can't have Destiny 2. Thank you. It's everything. Again, it's you can't have a $1,500 PC for $500 on a console. It makes no fucking sense, Who was saying something?
I don't think so.
Hello, I heard somebody. Anyway, but yeah, we were telling you this shit for a year, especially when we looked at the specs, okay, this was going to happen. Everything that we said happened. It was going to happen, did happen. But I don't know, man. Let's just be honest. PS4 Pro, Scorpio, waste of your fucking money.
Yeah,
let's just be completely honest. Waste of your fucking money.
Since day one, when they announced this, when they said that this was going to have 6 teraflops of graphical computing power, and we knew that that was going to be the major expense to this system. They weren't going to improve that much on the CPU side.
Yeah,
and we were right. It's another Jaguar CPU.
Yeah, exactly. So, what happened to the Ryzen or whatever the fuck it was supposed to be? They were touting that shit. Oh, it's gonna be Ryzen.
Can we stop building consoles with last generation's PC technology? Is that so much to fucking ask?
Well, the thing about it is that if we said it's always going to be a generation behind. Yeah. Even when we get PlayStation 5 and Xbox 2, TOO, when we get those versions of the consoles, they're still going to be like they're going to be a generation behind. And the thing is that
go ahead.
I'm sure if if they did it with like exactly current gen technology, those things would be crazy expensive.
Yeah,
but can't
try explaining that to Joe, who already said that the Xbox One was already too expensive. The guys that they're saying that the Xbox One, at its price point was too expensive, or the people that said PlayStation, PlayStation 3 at $600 was too expensive.
Yeah,
they're not gonna go for it.
Somebody needs to go to fucking AMD and give them the chance to fucking just lowball the like current gen technology and just expect that technology price will lower by the time you get to manufacturing. Like maybe it's the planning stage fucking takes too long or whatever, but every fucking generation that comes out, I'm like, why are you not using DDR5? Like, or just why are you not using current chip architecture in this thing? It baffles my mind because they'll just come out with fucking even back to like the fucking Sandy Bridges architecture. I'm pretty sure like all the architecture on the chipsets predates Sandy Bridges, doesn't it? Chris, maybe.
Well, Sandy Bridges Intel's, right? That's Intel.
Yeah, Jaguar is AMD.
Yeah, but I'm just using that as like a landmark. Like Sandy Bridges was about the time when they started to really look at the standard architecture that they were using and try and make advancements on it. Because before that, it was pretty much the same stuff tweaked for a little bit. Like it kind of plateaued for a little bit. So I'm saying that current consoles are built off the technology of that plateau before Sandy Bridges was even introduced and before it, because Intel looked at their architecture and then AMD took a couple years to respond, but then they started, updating their architecture as well. So we're dealing with like really not just old technology, but like old architecture, which is not even in use in PCs for the most part anymore.
Right. Well, there's an additional problem where they're making APUs, right? They want to get a unified single chip solution for graphics and computing. So that's why I dismissed the Ryzen rumors immediately when people were saying that about Scorpio. Like, it's not going to have Ryzen. They don't have time to make a custom APU out of this and integrate the RX5 stuff into it. Like, Vega wasn't ready. Like, none of that stuff was ready. So that was all pipe dream. So, and the problem with that is they want to make that so it's easier to manufacture. It's all about getting the manufacturing costs down, right, for them. So to just buy stock, Ryzen chips and then a stock RX 5 series chip and solder them into a board and all that stuff would elevate their manufacturing costs. This is why they do these custom things. But the integration to create an APU takes more time to research and whatever. That's why they're always a step or two behind the current stuff that PCs have.
Yeah, and Adam, I want to ask you this. You told us this before the show. Your Xbox buddies, how psyched are they for the Scorpio?
I always, especially right before it launched, for the announcement, I was sending messages, who sold on this? And they're like, it all comes down to price. Bottom line. Mm-hmm. Because, the guys that I know, they're all older guys. They're not like these young kids. These are guys that have been around since the first one and stuff. And they know how this game works with, with the pricing and stuff and what it can do. They were like, well, they really got to get blown away with Crackdown and some of the exclusives, just for the comparable, for the performance-wise. That's what they were saying. The X1 really needs to stand out compared to the S. And they weren't sold on the quality of the games and then also the pricing. So they were like, you know what? Still love Microsoft, but I'm going to pass on this one or wait further down the road to see if they have anything that can really show off the power. Because, they didn't really show anything that can really show off the power. It would have been great with the whole Crackdown with the explodable environments and the buildings, but now we're hearing that's only for online.
Yeah,
that's not even for the offline, which usually it's reversed. Usually it's like, oh yeah, we can do this online, but offline no. But they have the cloud. But again, they didn't even show that. They didn't even emphasize on that. It's like
it wasn't that interesting.
Lost in the idleness of time, I would say.
Yeah. So everybody was like, you know what? They didn't really announce anything special, anything really to sell the console. And that's their problem, though. Everybody agrees on that. That is their problem. They need IPs. They need some games. Phil knows that, and he's going to work on it. But I mean, I feel like that gap between people that have an S and the people that want to get the Xbox One, there's nothing closing in on that. You need some games to really like push people. Like, hey, this is why. This is why. What do we see?
They're limited. They're limited. I mean, okay, let's take Sea of Thieves, which I am stoked about because I know the mechanics behind a lot of this type of quasi MMO kind of game. The reason that game looks so crappy is because you are on a server with 50 to 60 other people kind of thing. And that puts a huge toll because then your console constantly has to be keeping track of everybody else and what everybody else's assets are and where they're moving. Just the kind of technology required to put several people on a moving object and then not have that moving object rubber band like a motherfucker and everybody, stays on that object. Like the simple idea of like putting 5 people on a raft and then having that raft float down a river is an incredibly taxing thing for your processor to be able to handle. And that's why I keep talking about, games are capped out right now. The reason that game doesn't look better is because despite how simple it looks, you are still really taxing the hardware, and you're not going to get a game that uses those mechanics and looks good until we really talk about seriously upgrading the hardware, specifically the processing power of the unit.
I don't know, man. I mean, Battlefield, you can play 64 players at the same map at the same time.
It's a different kind of thing though. Like these survival games are often maps measured in several kilometers by several kilometers, and you have to keep track of where the loot is spawning because it's not like Warcraft where everything is kind of run off of a server and then respawns. You have this space that is constantly changing, and it gets especially difficult if there's any kind of construction or anything like that, because then that exponentially makes it more things for your rig to keep track of. So it gets difficult, and I imagine if you're able to customize your pirate ship and if you're able to have this weapon load and it's trying to figure out, it's not that a chest will respawn every 10 minutes. At least that's not what I'm hoping, and if that is the case, they're going more of your classic MMO architecture, then I could be completely wrong. But that's where the shallowness of Destiny comes in, when you kill an enemy and they just respawn 10 seconds later. And Sea of Thieves seems to be the other kind of thing, built on the back of Daisy and Ark and games like that. Open world multiplayer survival games. Rust is another good example. Those have always been notoriously hard on processors.
I think Sea of Thieves does not look, at least to me, it doesn't look bad. But I think the reason why you're saying it looks bad is more towards the art style than it is to the performance of the game, or the way it was programmed.
It seems simple, but it's not as simple as it is, and it's impossible for it to get more complex, I guess is what I'm saying. Because that's a lot of the reaction I've heard from people like, yeah, I mean, I'm not really down with the art style so much, but the game seems pretty simple and straightforward. I was like, well, yeah, I mean, it's not like you're going to be able to, customize, everything about your pirate ship or anything like that, because, I mean, the system just couldn't handle it. There are only so many options that you get, and that's kind of the beauty / the shitty part about No Man's Sky is as soon as you dug down into it, you realize there's 12 fucking ship models and I can't customize any of them. And you really hit the bottom of that sandbox pretty hard and pretty fast until they introduced base building stuff. So
yeah, but the last thing about Scorpio is the $500 price point. I personally don't think it's bad considering what it's in it. But I did hear a lot of people complaining. But I'm like, guys, even Microsoft said they couldn't make it $400 of what,
Yeah, did they really expect $400?
Yeah, they did. These guys have been saying $400. Not Microsoft, the fanboys have been saying $400 for the longest time. But I'm like, guys, it has liquid cooling and everything. This shit was not going to be $400.
Didn't I say that the next the next iteration up would be the price of the previous one?
Yeah,
Sony did it. I think most of us called it too.
Every single one of us said it. Exactly. I made 2 Tony's takes about this shit, But nobody fucking listened,
Exactly. Everybody thinks that we're talking fucking crazy talk. It's like you look at the fucking patterns, you look at the way these people do these things. They're gonna do it. They're gonna oftentimes they're gonna choose the safest way out.
Yeah,
that's what they're gonna do. So what is the Scorpio? The Scorpio is a marginal upgrade over the last generation, which will use checkerboarding to satisfy the people who have 4K televisions and give a bit of a boost to some of the games that have a patch to them. What does that sound like?
Yeah,
sounds like a PlayStation Pro.
Like the Pro. Sounds like the Pro. We told you this shit because again, these companies aren't going to go try some wildly crazy, you know.
For a company that rose to dominance, being the second most powerful console, they sure put a lot of weight on the idea of it being the most powerful console, and seem to forget everything we had talked about last generation about system parity, and how most games, even though the PS4 had or the PS3 was technically stronger, that most games were developed for the 360, and so you could have games that actually run better on the 360 despite it being a lower power. And this had to do with the fact that it had a larger install base, and developers generally tend to develop for the one with the larger install base and then port it over. It seems like everybody's forgotten all of that shit.
Yeah.
Because none of that has changed. And so what you're going to see is the same in the Elite Ring. You're going to see a system parity. They're going to design an enhanced version that runs on both Pro and the Elite Xbox, and that's it. It's going to be pretty much the same. Maybe a little dialed up. I won't even lie. Like, maybe they'll just use the PC tweaking things but put slightly different settings in it and tweak it up a little bit, because everything's designed under PC architecture right now. But for the most part, you're not going to get vastly different gaming experiences, and the hardware that's in the system absolutely commands a price point of $500. So I really don't understand, with all those things being said, like, what are people fucking arguing about?
Yeah, by the way, Brett, you heard me sighing in the middle of that. It's because you said, oh, this Elite Xbox. I'm like, why didn't you call it the Xbox One Elite? Come on, that would have been a better name.
Yeah, and that would have been
dumb name.
To be honest,
One X. Get the fuck out of here.
What about this? Okay, here's they're saying this is a console for the enthusiasts or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so if it's the enthusiast console, why doesn't it come with the fucking Elite controller?
Oh, because there's a $150 controller. That's
a $150 controller.
People are paying that much for it, you know.
Yeah, that controller sells really, really well, you know.
But to be honest, it's like, or like even just give you the base model of the damn thing, and you can buy all the different parts of it later, right?
Yeah, they're not going to do that either.
No, but I mean, it's like okay, it's for the enthusiasts. Okay, so where's the enthusiast controller?
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. I'm totally with you on that, but they're not going to do it. But yeah, man, I don't see how, if you saw that conference, you'd be like, fuck, I need to get this console. Like, it didn't do a good job of selling that shit. No. Just like the Pro didn't do a good job of selling itself either. Let's just be honest.
And to be honest, I feel like it was a big mistake that Microsoft devoted their conference to that idea. They could have literally pulled one of those mini Sony, like pretty much did what Sony did.
They should have done that.
A little bit more entertaining, a little bit more clearer, and did a lot better job, and just devoted this whole thing to games. But the thing is that we're not even seeing, like,
they don't have the game.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You don't have the games, and the thing is that, like, and then the other thing is, it's just there's the confusion, because you have to have it in this format. There's a confusion as to what improvements that you're actually going to be seeing on there. I mean, I saw Forza on there, but you know what I saw? It was supposedly running on Scorpio tech. But I still saw those jaggy ass shadows.
Yep. By the way, I find it not to go off the rails so much, but I find it funny how the Forza section was more dedicated to the actual real car, than the actual game. It's like they barely showed any gameplay. Yeah, like who the fuck cares?
They have to car. They have to conference.
What happened?
They don't. That's true, Brian. They should give that car as like DLC, free DLC for pre-orders or something. Don't just say it's in the game and you gotta try to earn it.
That shit's anti-consumer, man. None of us can afford that shit.
There you go.
No, you know what it is? You want to know why the Forza car was there? Because it's tradition.
Yeah, but I'm like, if you're gonna bring a real car, at least bring it up from the raft.
And now that and this is the funny thing. I don't know if I don't think anyone here talked about it, but remember EA had that Porsche deal for a long time, where Porsche just could not be in any other racing game.
Long ass time.
Yeah, and then they were like, all right, you know what? That deal's about to expire from Porsche's side, and they were like, you know what? We got all these other companies that want in on this, so we'll just open it up. And then now the fucking Microsoft comes out and says, oh, Forza has this exclusive right with Porsche. I'm like, they fucking did it again. How much money did Microsoft pay Porsche to get these cars?
By the way, quick question, Brian, is it Porsche or Porsche?
Depends. If you want to say it right, then say Porsche.
Porsche.
All right. Yeah, because like that was one of the I call it the little subplot of E3. It's like, what the fuck do we call it? He said Porsche. That guy said Porsche. I thought it was Porsche. You know,
It's Porsche.
Yeah. All right. But anyway, let's move on. Yeah. So Project Scorpio is exactly what we told you guys it was going to be. You know, not worth it. Not worth it.
Not necessarily. Well, it's look, if you want to break into the Xbox, like if you don't have an Xbox,
Yeah,
which
okay, I'll break it up. If you don't have an Xbox and you have a 4K TV, yeah, sure, go for it. If you don't care about that, or you have a PC, you don't need to worry about that shit. Let's just be honest. You know, it's just basically everything we said about the PS4 Pro apply to this system.
Yes, just change PS4 Pro to Xbox One X.
Yeah.
Before all of you get angry and send any hate messages or anything like that, just
are you going to talk about Nintendo again, Brett?
No.
He says, I know where Brett's going. He's going to say that we just told you not to buy a Sony system.
No, yeah, we just said it's pretty much the same deal, and we said it wasn't worth it with the Sony system, and it's probably not worth it unless you're an enthusiast for the Xbox system. Now, where Microsoft has a little bit of a ledge on that is there are more people not in the Microsoft ecosystem than there are people are in the Microsoft ecosystem. There's more people on the Sony side, so that's a good way to entice people over to your camp who maybe already aren't Microsoft gamers. So if somebody was like, you know, like I'm a prime candidate. I have a PS4. I don't have a PS4 Pro. I don't have an Xbox. If I want access to Xbox exclusive titles, most likely I might shell out the extra $100 to buy the Xbox One X, as opposed to a regular version of an Xbox.
I thought you were going to say you're going to shell out the $100 to buy a graphics card on your PC.
Right, and that's it. And play it on my PC.
Yeah, I'm at the point now where like I'm gonna have to I'm not making the shift over to Windows 10, and the fact that they're locking everything to Windows 10 is problematic for me because I don't want to put my work PC on Windows 10. Everything is solid and working the way I want on 7. I don't really think 10 is a huge upgrade. Neither does anybody that I know. So there's no reason to upgrade other than the fact that they're kind of forcing you to. So.
Yeah, I mean, you only need it if you want to play it as those Xbox games. But yeah, you're right about that, and you're not going to be doing that probably. By the way, quick thing, I don't want to derail it too much, but Daniel says in the comments that he's a PC gamer and he's still excited about Scorpio. My question is why? Like with that $500, you could probably buy something to make your PC better, and you can still play those same games.
Come on, man, you know why?
Oh yeah, actually, I know why, but I don't want to hear his reasoning for it.
Well, he said because PC is a 3-foot experience and this console is a 10-foot experience, and what I would respond to that with,
hold on, back up. What the fuck does that mean?
That means that the console is a living room experience, whereas the PC is an office experience or a desk experience.
Okay,
you can build a media PC that the tower sits in your living room, or you can buy a Steam box and send the signal over. You know, a PC gaming can be a 10-foot experience.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. All right, man. Let's move on, man.
Can you say like one small thing, like just to make sure that not everyone hates us? I like the size of the box. It's nice how they made like small.
It's a nice looking box. Yeah.
It's smaller. No, it's
I have absolutely no problems with the box.
You know what? It's funny. It actually looks like a PlayStation 2.
The only thing that I'm concerned about is like the heat. Like I want to see like some guys do like some like heat gun stuff to it. Like check how hot it gets.
That's a good one.
Because again, after like the Xbox One's like 10 million vents and the 360s just melt down. It's like, I don't know.
By the way, I find it funny that the Xbots are back to hating Digital Foundry again after loving them. These guys are so full of shit, man.
Always,
I swear.
I think, again, it's like I definitely think that people are taking offense to things that don't match their ideals.
Oh yeah, totally.
Rather than like, in other words, they see it as somebody specifically taking pot shots at them when it's not that sort of situation at all.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people that are definitely looking, they see something on one camp and then be like, oh yeah, look at this. No, I don't think fucking Digital Foundry is out to get you guys. To be honest, they're looking for performance.
Polite British men. They're all right.
Well, there's also one we actually did see one of the one American guy.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, we did see him.
He totally looks like fucking Rick Moranis. The way I always recognize the guy, he looks like fucking Rick Moranis from Ghostbusters.
It's fucking hilarious. All right, man, let's move on, man. We got to talk about these May NPDs catching us by surprise. I guess because of E3 going on last week, they just didn't have them. So they had them on Monday of this week, and they gave us both the hardware and the software, right? But this, again, I just had entertainment from this shit, right? Because ever since the Switch came out, right, I heard all these dudes saying, that's it, from now on until the end of the year, Switch is going to dominate the fucking NPDs.
Well, you know what?
Not so much.
I honestly believe that it would have. They were on the right track if it wasn't for the fact that they can't get parts.
Thank you. And that's what I told these motherfuckers. I said it's not going to do it because Nintendo is not manufacturing enough of these. And that's exactly what fucking happened.
Well, okay, not just that, but nobody, come on, let's be fair. Nobody saw that Apple was going to start shoving them out of the market for limited materials and components. Like that took Nintendo by surprise. And I think that took a lot of people by surprise. Like Nintendo did their normal thing, but now there's a whole bunch of other fucking shenanigans and supply shortages on top of that, which really bit them in the ass for doing that. Turns out if Nintendo had tried not to do Nintendo's thing, they would have ended up accidentally doing Nintendo's thing. But because they did Nintendo's thing, it's now worse than normal for Nintendo's thing.
Yeah, because I know, because the thing is, like, a lot, the guys who just plain hate Nintendo said, oh, it's because nobody gives a fuck about the Switch anymore, right? But I'm like, no, I still see a lot of people actually want the shit.
Yeah, no, I still have
they just can't get it, So, yeah, I think the Apple thing.
I know 3 people that got one this month.
Yeah, I don't know. You gotta hook people up, man, because nobody can find this shit.
Brett, I want to say that they're actually going to be building Nintendo Land right near in Kansas, like right there.
In Kansas, yeah.
That's where it is. That's where Nintendo Land is.
But yeah, so yeah, again, I wasn't surprised by this. Like, I knew it was going to come. I didn't know it was going to happen this soon, to be fair. I thought the Switch drop off would happen after Splatoon, because then it's like, okay, you have nothing on this system for months, but it happened very, very fast. But yeah, it must be the manufacturing thing. That's what it's got to be. And then the funny thing is, just related to, this news article, again, they put another report. Switches are expected to be in, low stock until the end of the year. The funny thing is, when I did my research for this, right, I was looking for an article that came out this week, right? I found an article from months ago saying the exact same thing. So the narrative hasn't changed on that end, like if you're expecting this thing to sell 16 million consoles, like a lot of analysts were saying, you're going to be very disappointed, In
a world where they could just produce, like snap their fingers and produce them, and like, just put them on store shelves, maybe I would still be hesitant to say 16 million on that.
Yeah, but that's what they said, man.
But yeah, supply shortage, fuck the number.
Yeah, give us your take on this shit, man.
Well, Kimishima already came out and he backpedaled the 10 million estimate in the financial report, that they won't even hit that. And they can't, because there's just component shortages. And I wish they would be more transparent about it, because everyone else is. Apple is, Samsung is. Like, there's component shortages for NAND parts and solid state. So guess who's buying it all up? Apple, right? The guys who have the money, and that's why there's just not enough of it to go around. They're having shortages with rare earths in China, and so the components are harder to make. They're getting more expensive. And Nintendo is on the short end of receiving, because Apple has the money to spend, and they'll put forward whatever just so they don't have shortages.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. But so we'll see if because actually, here's my question to you, right? If this is really being caused by Apple, right? How can Nintendo remedy this situation?
Take Mario off of the app store and be like, yo, you heard us. Now we're gonna hurt you.
No, but seriously though, how can they actually get around this? Like, if they're
another source,
it might involve using a different type of some different tech. I mean, I know that it may involve a cheaper redesign. So, like, in other words, aren't they using? They're not using OLED screens on those things, are they? Right?
No.
They're using whatever Apple's using. So that was
hell no, they're not.
Right?
Yeah, they're using some bullshit. That's what they're using.
They're using whatever Apple is using, because Apple's just taking that shit over. And then solid state, that's one thing that everybody uses. So it means that they need to make a version of the console that may not, that is a lot cheaper and has easier, supply. That's kind of why in the past they've always made their consoles a little bit, quite a few generations behind everybody else.
It's easier to get parts.
Easier to get the parts. That's why you don't, you instead of using a full-on touchscreen, they were using those kind of like pressure-sensitive touchscreens on the 3DS,
and the Wii U, I believe,
and on the Wii U. So now they decided to go a little more high tech, and then they realized, oops, everybody else that has more money is taking it.
It's crazy. All right, since we're here, let's run through the top 10 games of May. Injustice 2, number 1 game. Mario Kart 8, number 2. Brian's favorite, Grand Theft Auto 5, number 3.
Yay!
Legend of Zelda still up there, number 4. Prey, nice. Number 5. Adam's favorite, Ghost Recon's, number 6.
Killed them all.
Fire Emblem, number 7. NBA, number 8. MLB, number 9. And Overwatch, number 10. So there you go, man. Nier Automata is like all the way down to number 18, but hey, babe, right here you go. Farpoint is number 16.
So wow, I'm actually shocked by that.
So I'm like, oh shit, look at that.
Nier's holding on.
Yeah, go ahead, Brett.
For those of you not seeing this, let's see, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Legend of Zelda, Prey, Fire Emblem, and Overwatch don't have digital sales included.
Yeah, that's right. It's just raw physical in America. So, yeah.
I'm not sure. I might dispute that number 1 slot. I imagine that I'm surprised Prey doesn't have digital sales because I think it might actually be higher if it did. So yeah, I think these numbers would change a little bit. I don't think you'd see any difference in the top 20, but I think that might change spots if you actually accounted for digital sales on some of them.
Maybe, All right.
You notice that the Mario Kart 8 and also Zelda are still on there.
Yep.
I feel like these are situations where people are planning whenever the Switch does come out.
Yeah,
wherever they start to come out, they're at least ready to jump on it. Because that's at least what I was going to do. I was going to buy the special super edition of the Legend of Zelda, sit on it for a while, with maybe, a generation, 1 year or a few years on it until the price dropped or the more of them were readily available. But, I didn't have any more of those. So I was like, whatever.
That's interesting. So you think some of these, or maybe a majority of these games are being bought for people who don't have the system?
There's literally more of those games than there are fucking systems out there.
That's true.
It's easier to find a fucking copy of Legend of Zelda or any one of the top Nintendo games than it is to actually find the console that plays those fucking games.
Yeah, that's hilarious, man. All right, let's move on. Where the fuck are? Oh yeah, this happened last week at E3, but
I just say something like really quick.
Brian, man, you killing the flow tonight, brother. You got to say something in between, man.
That's what I do. Relax.
Yeah, that is what you do.
Oh, one more thing.
I like shit people like in the side before you leave. I had a scroll down and the best selling games of 2017 so far. The first shock is that number 1 and number 2 are both held by Ubisoft, which are For Honor and Ghost Recon Wildlands, which I think is quite strange because, wow, Ubisoft are on fire again, this year. So, congrats to Ubisoft for that achievement. And the number 3 and 4 slot are Breath of the Wild and Zero Dawn. So,
that's for the whole year, right?
Breath of the Wild is outselling Zero Dawn.
Oh wow! I guess I was wrong.
I just thought I'd just throw that out there for people because I was the one that did say that it will outsell for various reasons.
Hey, listen, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but we'll see how that ends up at the end of the year.
But I have to say this very quickly. I want to see the worldwide sales because these are NPD and NPD is just
good point. And we did always talk about worldwide, but that even in America, I'm still kind of shocked by that, to be honest.
By the way,
Horizon would have cleaned house in America.
Who called it?
Oh, you did, Carlos. I'm glad we didn't bet.
Again, I want to see the worldwide sales, Carlos.
We want to see the worldwide. Yeah, that's what really counts. This ain't BGST, you know. All right, man. Okay, so this next story, this happened last week, but we were doing E3 and stuff. Manny and I didn't mention it at all, really, but very, very interesting. Okay, so apparently the whole drama with Konami and Hideo Kojima is not over. Manny, what the fuck is going on now?
Well, essentially, you remember back in TGS last year, when Konami revealed the Metal Gear Survive trailer, and Kojima kind of made fun of it and said, "What is this shit?" Like essentially, not what is. He didn't say that. He says
that's like that's not a Metal Gear game. I would make something along those lines.
He's like zombies in a Metal Gear game. That's and not even showing a Metal Gear in the trailer. I don't know about that game. It seems a bit weird. And he said he had absolutely no involvement. Apparently, Konami, it came out from Nikkei. Konami sent them sent Mr. Kojima a nice little letter and said, "We didn't appreciate what you just said, and you're violating your contract, and your contract because apparently they owe him money, and that you're sullying our brand."
Man,
yeah. So that balloons out into something else where Konami, any former Konami employees, that have been, let go, any of those Kojima guys, if they are let go, they've told every single other company out there to kind of hold them up, to say, if you get anybody who says that they're from Konami, to not hire them. Number one. Number two, the people that they already signed these contracts saying that, being that they worked at Konami, they can't say that they worked at Konami to get another job somewhere else. So it's like, I worked at this place for 10 years, but I can't say what it is.
Why is it? It's not like it's a government agency. It's a fucking video game company.
Konami, believe it or not, has a lot of pull in Japan. Not because everybody here just thinks, oh yeah, they're just a video game company. No, they're a fucking empire over there. They literally have their hands in so many other different types of products. They own fucking spas. They own like gyms. They own they make all kinds of other fucking crazy products.
You left out one of the most fucked up things.
And the biggest one. Okay, so Kojima's obviously he started a new company, and in Japan they have a certain sort of medical plan that is specific for people in technology. So anybody in video games, anybody in the web, they get this specific sort of a specific sort of medical plan. Apparently, Konami's main guy over there, one of their presidents is actually the top of this. He's the chairman of this company, this coalition or whatever that handles this, and they're literally blocking Kojima's people from getting medical.
Man, that's some bullshit.
Yeah, see that?
And it's also, by the way, illegal, because when there was Kotaku wrote Kotaku did a semi-translation of it, but obviously they didn't do a good enough translation of it. So Nikkei actually released an English version of the same article. And it actually goes a bit deeper, which is that when Kojima's people when Kojima applied to get this medical plan, they said that he contacted them, or his people contacted them, like, hey, we wanted to know how the status of this is. Like, oh yeah, we showed this to the chairman of this coalition, and they and he denied it. The thing is that the chairman cannot deny any sort of company. Can't deny any, specifically themselves deny a company from doing it. It's actually a bunch of different companies that approve it, a bunch of different people. It's like a jury. So like they all look over the information. They're like, okay, this is cool. So he can't, just because he is the chairman doesn't mean he can block it. So yeah.
Yeah, Konami, man, you're looking really scummy.
Konami, I'm gonna say this about Konami Japan, and it's not an apology or anything like this. It is the fact that Konami is still owned by the original people that own that created that corporation, right?
Yeah.
So I don't, a lot of people are saying this seems very personal. It is fucking personal.
It is. Kojima was like their bread and butter, basically.
Kojima was their bread and butter, and they had a difference of opinion or whatever the fuck happened behind the scenes, and that's it. It's sad that these sorts of things have to come out on the media like this. You would think that these people would be adults and be able to handle these things behind the scenes instead of having to, getting all messy. But I also feel like at the same time, maybe this thing was also leaked just for that purpose. Why we found out about this, what is going on behind the scenes, is to kind of help the situation, outrage. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So who owes who money?
The Konami supposedly, according to the article, Konami actually owes Kojima money. They're withholding some money that they owe him.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe it's some sort of a severance pay. Maybe it's some sort of who knows? Maybe he didn't take all his vacation time. I don't exactly know how Japanese corporations and game development strategies work.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. I mean, I don't really have too much to say other than it's fucked up, but
it's sick that it gets that way. Like, in the United States, if somebody leaves, certain companies, you leave, that's it. That's what it's over. That's it.
Yeah, I just got a quick message. Somebody told me ex-Konami employees have to say something to the effect of they worked for the company formerly known as Konami. What the
formerly?
Oh, and they even people have kind of also nicknamed them ex-cons.
Ex-cons with a K, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, so which kind of explains why certain key people are probably not at Kojima Productions. Because when I was at E3, I actually got to meet Sean Eystone. He was formerly a producer on Metal Gear Solid 5. And I asked him, just for the hell of it, I'm like, you're not the new studio, you're not over there. He's like, nah, I was done with that stuff. And he's like, I've been there for 9 years and whatever. Who's to say that him being in Japan would have been very difficult? He didn't. I'm going to say this. He didn't officially say this to me, and this could just be conspiracy theory. But who's to say that the fact that him living in Japan, being a foreigner, and also looking for work over there and not being able to say he's worked at Konami for 10 years kind of hurt his video game career in Japan.
Shit, yeah.
So rather than deal with that sort of stuff, he pretty much just said, all right, fuck this, I'm coming back to the United States again. Don't quote me on any of this. He didn't say any of that to me. But yeah, I mean, who's to say that situation didn't, that led to his decision to come back to the States? Who knows?
It's crazy, man. All right. And the last thing, okay. So Sony's Jim Ryan, he's becoming like
a prick.
He's becoming
he's like Dan Matrick.
Yeah, he's like Dan Matrick or Phil Spencer. These dudes who constantly put their foot in their mouth, right? So, I think we talked about this on a previous episode. He was saying how nobody wants to play old games, right? Nobody cares about backward compatibility. Nobody wants to play old games. Now this dude is saying that showing indie games at E3 isn't really important. As a matter of fact, he said it's less relevant, right? The funny thing is, if you read his entire statement, right, he says, when the PS4 first came out, right, they didn't really have that many games, so they really focused on indie games, right, to kind of fill in the void, right? Now that they have a lot more games, and he specifically said, now that we have VR, we want to focus on that stuff. We don't really want to focus on the indie stuff. So now it's a little bit less relevant. If you read the entire thing, it makes perfect sense, right? The thing is, he shouldn't be saying shit like that because you know what happens on the internet, right? Sony says indie games are irrelevant. That's what it got turned into, right? So it's like somebody needs to check this man. It's like, bro, either learn how to speak publicly or shut the fuck up.
He really needs to. This is the second, was mentioning this guy the second time in the same year. He needs to really, he really needs to have the Sony people kind of look over his fucking language for a little bit,
Yeah, and it's not like he said something. It's not like he said something dumb like months later. This is weeks later, like after the other dumb statement, So now now people are thinking, you know, obviously the fanboys are going, oh yeah, you know, Sony hates indie games. They hate indie games. By the way, the funny thing is the same guys who were saying this are the guys who shitted on indie games, you know, and now they love indie games all of a sudden, you know. But yeah, it's like Jim Ryan, bro, you need to shut the fuck up. Like, stop talking all this nonsense, you know.
He really, I mean, he's not choosing. I mean, obviously when you read the whole thing, you know, but then what it, you know, it obviously, you know, it gives you some insight into what the strategy is, but at the same time, it also belittles the kind of indie game market, which Sony was somewhat at some point seen as the darling for indie games at some point.
Yeah,
I mean, it would explain. It definitely does explain the state of the Sony PlayStation booth at E3, because last year alone there was a shitload in the year of indie games. And the year before that, that thing was crazy full with indie games.
Yeah, so obviously, you know, Sony's not going to stop supporting fucking indie games. Like, as a matter of fact, that same day when this dude was saying this nonsense, Sony UK put out like, you know, because they're having an indie sale or something over there. It's like a bunch of indie games, you know. They're not suddenly going to pull
everything must go. Didn't you hear? We don't do this shit no more.
Everything got to go from the digital store, you know. But yes, I give my man, you need to. No, you know what I'm saying? You saw that gif with what's his face, like,
you know, he really needs to get a hold of that shit, because, like, you know, you're saying two fucking controversial things. You know, it's starting to sound like you're getting, you know, that Sony's getting a little bit high, you know, getting on a bit of a high horse.
And we don't need that. Remember what happened with the PS3? You know,
yeah. We don't need that sort of talk. Hey, you should if you want this console, you should get a second job sort of fucking talk.
Yeah, fuck that. You know?
I always remember that. I was like, this can't be real. He didn't ever say that. I was like, it must be a horrible translation or something. Like, no, he said this shit.
Yeah, and the only reason why indie games don't matter anymore is because you finally got some fucking games.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just be honest now, you know.
If it wasn't for the indie games, nobody would have stuck around waiting for the big titles.
So yeah.
So the part of it that I found interesting was, like, you know, he says, oh, they're less relevant. I'm like, kind of interesting, because the indie games are way bigger now than they were in 2013. He was specifically talking about 2013, 2014, right? Indie games are way more relevant now. Yeah. Let's just be honest, you know.
Bold move, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out.
What happened, Brett?
I said, bold move, Cotton. Let's see how this plays out.
Right? Oh, man,
you know, here's the thing. Like, what a shitty time to say this, only because Nintendo is really leaning heavily on Switch titles right now, and they're probably going to continue to do so.
Indie titles, you mean?
Or on indie titles, yeah, they're leaning heavily on indie titles, so they're probably going to continue to do so for the next year or so. Like, you should really be friendly with indie developers so that they don't gain an exclusive experience. Like, if something's only available on Steam and Switch, you've gone and shot yourself in the foot. You may not think that's
it depends on the install base.
Again, they're not dropping support for indie games, but at the same time, an indie developer could see that statement. It's like, okay, I'm not fucking with Sony.
I don't want to deal with those guys.
You know, that's the problem. Like, even if Sony doesn't have an official stance of, you know, we're not gonna put out indie games, that's obviously not the company stance. An indie developer can see that shit, like, fuck that. I'm gonna go to Microsoft. I'm gonna go to Nintendo. You know, and
I'm sure a lot of the indie developers probably talked to the head of indie development in Sony and said, so what is this guy talking about?
Yeah.
You know,
especially considering the Vita has been kept alive all this time because of indie games. Mm-hmm. Let's just be honest, you know. So very, very weird statement from this man. Now I'm like, okay, what else is he gonna say?
This sounds like old Sony.
It really does. That arrogant Sony, that get two jobs Sony, you know. We don't need that shit, man.
No,
like, I mean, Sony, you fucked up. Like, you fucked up, and you ruined a generation basically for yourself. You finally got the shit, you know, straight with the PS4, and now you're fucking it up because you're on the top of the game and shit, you know. And by the way, yeah, go ahead, Manny.
No, go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a derail, but I need to throw this in there. Just important too, because it's kind of related to it, right? I find it very funny, right, that fucking Nintendo, out of all companies, is open to cross-play between other consoles.
Oh, no. I figured that out real quick.
Yet Sony's like, fuck that shit. I'm like, Sony, but you, last generation, you were all about it, right? What happened? You know, it's like they flipped the roles. Like, basically, Microsoft last generation was like, we don't want to play with those Sony guys, right? Now Microsoft's like, yeah, we're willing to play with Sony. Now Sony's like, fuck Microsoft. We don't want to deal with that shit, you know? Very interesting that they're kind of becoming.
I see why Nintendo wants to do it, because I mean, there's so many other people that they can play with. They won't have any matchmaking issues. If it was just a Switch, you're going to be playing with the same few guys.
Oh shit! I didn't think about that. Yeah.
So if you want to,
that is the fact. Yeah, that's true.
I still never thought I'd hear the day where somebody would say to me, "Nintendo wants crossplay," and Sony said no. Yeah. I'd be like, "What? Yeah. What? You mean the other way around, right? Like, no? Okay. Hell has frozen over. I don't even know at this point."
It's weird, dude. But there it is. So yeah, Sony, man, you check your boy. Check your boy.
Did they even come out with a retraction or clarity?
They didn't come out with retraction the first time.
They should really start to address those sorts of things, because if this guy's going to start talking metric talk, he needs to get him shit in check.
It's crazy, man.
There's a problem when there's a problem when a real Sony executive starts sounding like a fake Twitter account, the real Kaz Hirai.
Oh shit, right? The CEO Kaz Hirai.
CEO Kaz Hirai.
Oh man, but even he's funnier, Okay, by the way, go ahead, Brian.
No, I was about to say, yeah, he's much funnier, and yeah, I don't know what Jim Ryan is smoking, but they need to remove him or stop him from talking, because he's not doing well right now.
Yeah, he's making the whole company look bad. It's like either get him some PR coach or whatever, or keep him away from interviews. Put him wherever, have him do whatever the hell his job is, and keep him away from interviews, because this guy's just saying dumb shit all the time.
It's kind of like what they did with the vice president, the last presidency. You just kept him out of the media. You didn't let him say anything last time.
They need to deliver on their message. They need to keep good IPs in house. Otherwise, look, Microsoft at the beginning of next generation is gunning for you, Sony. They already have plans X, Y, and Z already fucking planned out. They're gunning to be back on top, and they know that they pretty much have to ride out the rest of this generation to do so. And so they're courting the good graces of their gamers. And if Sony doesn't do that, we do continue to see this kind of slipping back into old Sony. The same shit is going to happen. You are going to lose your empire through your arrogance, goddammit. But you know what? We'll just all jump ship. We'll just jump ship to the company that's currently treating us right, and fucking keep on playing games. You're the one that's going to suffer.
Yeah, again, none of this is an official stance, but Jim Ryan is making it seem like it's an official stance. It's fucking dumb, man. All right, we actually went through all of our topics in a pretty timely manner. So since we want to fill up a little bit of time here, I want to do something a little different, right? Because obviously we didn't get the rest of the guys' takes on E3. So I'll let you guys just have at it, man. Chris, Brett, Brian, Carlos, Adam, go ahead. What do you guys think of E3, this year's E3?
I was just upset, at least with a lot of the big games that I wanted to come out, that they're all pushed back to 2018. So it's like, all right, well, you just got to wait. But besides that, I mean, weren't too many surprises to go around.
Well, it seemed like it was firmly divided. It was polarized. There was games that we already knew about that we got to see more of, and games that we got told about but aren't far enough in development to really show us a whole lot. So
and then there was Metroid Prime 4 and Pokemon. Then there was Pokemon.
Yeah.
That was the most half-assed announcement ever, but it's still, people were like, oh my god, oh yeah, they've filmed it in its fucking office. They bothered him at work. He's like, yeah, okay, yeah, we're working on one. All right, we won't tell you anything else for a year. Go away.
They're like, oh, the internet is going crazy. Why? Well, we announced it to the Pokemon game. They don't want that game. We have to make a normal Pokemon game. Why did we think of this?
Man. We also learned that Uncharted DLC is going to have a platinum in it.
Well, that's good.
It's not really. They're kind of selling it as its own game now.
Yeah, but it's still part of the season pass, so that's why it's like, well, if it's part of the season pass, your DLC then.
I don't have a problem with that. I mean,
I don't.
DLC can be its own kind of continuation.
Yeah.
You know,
We've seen it
It's just
before.
that I think this is the first time I've ever seen one come out that has a platinum. Usually that's just for the main game.
didn't
Well,
Blood
doesn't-
Dragon
doesn't-
have one?
No, Blood Dragon does not.
Doesn't the
Infamous
Infamous,
Second Light has it.
yeah, that one has it.
That one has it.
That
one you can buy separate.
If I'm
Remember, that
correct,
was a
didn't
standalone.
the other Infamous ones do too? The dragon, the vampire one, Brian.
No,
That one?
the Blood one did not.
Okay, so it's just First Light then.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm pissed I missed off. I'm pissed that I got like my PSN, my PS4 like 3 months after that came out on PSN Plus.
Oh shit.
So pissed.
That's
But yeah,
funny.
I just have a feeling a lot of people aren't going to pick it up. They're going to think, it's just some side shit. I'm not going to pick it up. But it looks like they're putting a lot of work. This really is going to be its own thing.
Who's saying that? Because everybody seems to be
No,
pretty-
because even when they did it after, every site that had like, oh, what were you hyped about? What impressed you at the show? No one mentioned Uncharted. It wasn't even on the list.
I think it's because it's and this sounds weird for me because I'm defending it. I think that it's because it's like a safe bet. Like everyone knows that it's going to be good, so they're not going to be all too excited. It's like, hey, it's Uncharted. We know what we're going to get. So
And it's got the DLC tag on it. So
Yeah, there's also a little bit of franchise fatigue going on there, I think.
How?
and because it has a woman playable character, and gamers don't like that. No.
Yeah, right.
Oh, gamers hate that.
It's not like Horizon Zero Dawn is doing well or anything like that.
or Nier
Yeah,
or
Horizon
Tomb
Zero
Raider.
terribly.
Well, technically, Nier is an android, so yeah, only certain women count.
But that has to
Right, Tony?
Yeah, exactly. That counts, right? Oh my god, don't get me started, man. It only counts if you're made out of clay, right?
Oh my god.
Fucking bullshit. Chris, man, E3, what do you think, man?
Overall, I didn't think it was as good as last year. EA's conference was terrible. Like,
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
was trash.
besides the esports shit, there are teleprompter problems, like putting a YouTuber up there and expecting him to carry the conference.
Oh,
It's
he
like,
just
yeah,
he froze.
yeah, he froze, and it's like this guy records in his room, and you put him like, "Hey, you're popular, get out there and sell whatever."
What does he
It's like,
film though? What kind of videos does he film?
No one cares. It doesn't
Exactly.
matter.
Probably less than
No one cares.
I'm sure most of his YouTubing is like 1,000 jump edits.
Yeah. And I swear, if you're gonna just bore us with EA Sports, make that a separate thing. Like, so those guys who give a shit to watch it. Like, I don't want to see a drum line. That was ridiculous, and all that stuff. Like, and they intersperse it because it's like you're watching the whole conference. You're sitting here, so we're gonna throw in Madden and look, we copied FIFA and it has a campaign. Okay, sure.
They said it took like 4 years to make that. I was like, what?
Yeah, whatever. I don't believe them.
I don't believe this shit. Like, we're not copying anybody.
Bethesda's conference was disappointing,
cartoon.
except for the Bethesda Land thing. It was silly, and the only thing I saw that was interesting for me was Wolfenstein.
Yes, man.
Yeah, I was like, okay, they saved that for the end. I see why, because the rest of this was lame. You just
You
told
see
us
the release date?
Trash.
it told us that we have to buy mods on console for Fallout. I'm
What?
like,
You
what
saw
the fuck?
See how they tricked people with that? It's like, oh, you buy this, but guess what? This doesn't void out your achievements or trophies if you buy it. So then now you can get
Right,
that super armor and that
it's
weapon.
pay to win. That's pay to win. That's
Pretty much.
exactly the definition of pay to win. You just told us you're selling mods to consoles, but it's also pay to win because it doesn't turn trophies off, but it changes the experience in your favor. I don't know. That will also
it's God mode for hip hop gamer.
There you go. He gets his demo. But you see the release date though. Wolfenstein comes out the same week as Assassin's Creed and Mario Odyssey.
It's all in
man.
October 27th.
It's all on that same weekend. Yeah.
Jeez. Microsoft's was so. I expected a little more for seeing the games. I mean, they always with Scorpio, they're like, "Oh, look at Forza." I'm like, "No, you have to show something else." Like, and Crackdown didn't look that good.
No, it didn't.
You know, and I was like, that was the game you should have showcased what Scorpio can do with all the destructible environments, all that shit you sold in 2014 that was totally nonsense. should have been realized, you know, and tailored to the Scorpio. And it wasn't. It just was like Terry Crews being crazy as usual, and then like this mishmash of game. I don't know. And I was like, Agents of Mayhem did a better trailer than this. So
Yeah.
you know, it's coming out earlier. So I don't know. I think they completely dropped the ball for most of that shit. Although they got to show Anthem, which I was like, why didn't EA show that shit? I mean, their whole conference was a disaster. At least that would have looked nice, but they gave it to Microsoft. So good job there. And Anthem was the Mass Effect everybody wanted, but you couldn't buy, so that's great. Let's see. Sony's was okay. I thought we'd see a little more stuff, but I was excited for God of War. God of War and Spider-Man were the highlights of that.
Yes.
I mean, yo, when I saw the World Serpent, I'm like, is Kratos gonna fight this motherfucker right now? I got excited, but he like bargained with it. I was like, oh
yeah, I'm like, wait, what? He's your friend now?
No, it makes total sense, Tony. He's the God killer, right?
Yeah,
and the World Serpent was to kill the gods, right? So that makes perfect sense.
That's right. I didn't think about that. You're right about that. They both want to do the same thing.
Yeah. Did you hear that the whole game, the editor said the whole game is in one take? Like, it's
very interesting.
So
you know? No camera cuts.
Unless he's really doing is tricking people, and that's all Kratos' part. Because I'm telling you, I don't think Kratos is going to be the main protagonist throughout the whole game. I think his son is going to grow up, and we're going to play him most of the time.
Well, if there's no camera cuts, how's that going to work?
It'll just be for Kratos. I mean, also, we didn't see any QTEs either.
Adam, I will say that the closer we get to the game, if you keep saying this and it does be revealed that is like the main plot twist, there are going to be so many people that are pissed off at you.
Why?
No, because
it's your fault.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they took that shit from
It just looks so obvious to me, though. It's like, all right, this doesn't pull a Last of Us feel like, oh, he has to protect his son. No, it doesn't. So then, what is he really doing? And remember, in the first trailer, he's showing him like, this is how you hunt, this is how you fight, this is what you do. And so, oh, you're training him. So if you're training him, don't tell me you're training him for a sequel. You're training him because we're going to be playing as him soon.
Well, just do me a favor. If that actually comes to pass when the game comes out, stop talking about it because then it'll be an official spoiler, you know. But you know, we'll see. You can say like, "Hey, remember that thing I told you about Kratos' son?" I'm right. Just leave it at that, you know.
I was right.
Yeah. Anyway, Chris, keep going, man.
Okay, what did I miss? Nintendo's was surprisingly good. Like I was shocked because I thought that they had really no surprises in there. I thought pretty much.
I'm gonna have to pause you for a second.
Yeah, here. I need to pop you right out.
I felt like something happened, like hell froze open over.
No, I got a question, man. Who are you, and what have you done with the real Chris Silly, man?
Hold on. Can I guess like the two biggest factors of Chris's excitement for this Nintendo conference?
Please don't tell me it was that motherfucking Metroid Prime.
Yes, that's
JPEG.
the number one. That's the number one. I can guarantee you that.
Hey, Chris, Chris, I don't argue with you, man. But if you tell me that JPEG got you excited, bro.
And number two is Mario Odyssey.
It was Samus Returns. Was excited. I don't see. They didn't show anything for 4. It's like it's coming. Okay.
The fucking JPEG they showed, man.
Call me back when it's done. I didn't get excited when they had the Switch conference and Suda51 is like, I'm working on Travis Touchdown game. It's like, yeah, it's a picture. I need to see something. So no, but when they actually had gameplay for Samus Returns that I liked a lot. I'm like, yes, you finally made a fucking handheld Metroid.
Can I say this real quick? I find it fucked up that Nintendo puts this out after they killed the fan project. You know, I'm like, why not just pay the fan project? They were making a better looking game than this.
Hey man, why isn't this game on Switch?
What happened?
Why isn't this game on Switch?
Yeah, it's on 3DS.
Yeah,
Metroid Prime.
But I'm like, yo, you should have.
It's probably in development for a long time.
They should have paid the fans to do the fucking game, just like Sega did. You know, but whatever. Hey, listen. I still pre-ordered this shit because Metroid 2 was it right? That was the first Metroid game I ever played. Love that.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, man.
I played the original one.
You pre-ordered the 3DS version?
Yeah, man. That's the only one they have, Adam.
No, but I mean, like, you can just get that digital through their store.
What are you talking about? The Game Boy game?
The Metroid, no. The Metroid one, the new one.
Why would I get it digital?
You rather have a physical?
Yeah, with 3DS, it's a handheld. You want physical with handhelds.
No, but I just go digital. I have
Okay, that's you then. I
memory
don't
card
do
in there.
that. You know,
carry all of them in one.
Right.
And I thought what they showed for Super Mario Odyssey, I definitely liked what I saw. And I was shocked. The T-Rex thing was a little weird because I thought they were like, oh, they got a Monster Hunter. That's the first thing I thought. Is like, wow, Capcom made him a Monster Hunter. All right, because I said T-Rex, and then the Mario hat landed on him. I'm like, what? What is happening? But that was pretty good overall. Like in terms of like beating expectations, them and Ubisoft definitely did that. Ubisoft had a straight up game conference, no bullshit, no celebrity nonsense, no wrestlers, none of that shit. They just showed games, right? And they did, and they did surprisingly well. So I say Ubisoft did well, Nintendo did well. I didn't think they had any surprises or anything, and they did, so that was good. So those two I enjoyed the most. I was disappointed. EA, I didn't have any expectations, and it was a crap conference. Bethesda, I was disappointed, except for Wolfenstein. I was like, Doom VR. I don't care if the VR. Skyrim. I heard Skyrim. If I heard Skyrim one more time in the damn E3, I was gonna be like, just burn the place down. I'm fucking sick of Skyrim, man.
It's coming out for Switch later this year, man.
Yeah, right.
It's coming out for everything. You get VR. It's like they might see it again.
3DS version coming soon, right?
Yeah.
Why don't they
well.
Why don't they remaster Oblivion? Shit, we're going down that road.
They're probably talking about that right now.
Yeah.
And of course, pay to win mods on console. That's some bullshit. So I got mad at that shit. Yeah. So that's where I stand with the whole thing.
All right, Brian, I want your thoughts, man. What do you think of E3? Because I know you're like you're not really a fan of E3 overall. So I want to know what you thought of this one.
I thought it was not terrible. It was just a bit frustrating. Like it started off like okay, EA's press conference was like, yeah, EA's was bad until they showed off Star Wars Battlefront 2, which is exactly how I thought Battlefront 2 should have been. Or sorry, how Battlefront should have been in the first place. So that's great. I mean, I can't complain. Like free DLC and no bullshit and all that stuff. So that's great. The Need for Speed Payback section thing was really terrible. I mean, they should have like just cut that guy off screen. Not the game. I mean, the YouTuber guy. Like they should have just removed him like the second that he opened his mouth, because that part was just cringeworthy. But the game looks okay. It looks like a mixture of what was that other one? The Run. No, it looks like a mixture of Need for Speed, the Run, and some other stuff.
Payback?
Yeah, so it looks all right. It looks.
Just remind me a lot of Burnout with when they would do the zoom in cars flipping in the background.
I'm still gonna buy it. Don't get me wrong, because it's like my baby. So yeah, EA just has to buy the balls on that one. So yeah. In regards to what Chris said about the sports thing, I like the fact that they spread it out, because usually I just fast forward like the section was like, hey, now let's talk about our sports stuff like half an hour straight. So I like how they didn't all have it like bunched together, but then at the same time, like, what's worse, a giant mountain of crap or just spread out crap everywhere? It's not really important because it's just crap, just lots of crap, regardless. So yeah,
you much rather have condensed crap than crap spread all over the walls.
It's a tough choice.
I gotta ask you, okay, and Brian, this was a question we got asked on Throwdown Questions the last episode. You weren't here though. What is it? Dan, I'm forgetting the question. Is a PC Gamer Conference relevant for E3?
It's relevant in order to see what other games are not being shown like the spotlight. I think it's a good place if you want to see like future indie games, because I feel like it fills in that small gap where indie games are just not being shown enough light, because I have a real issue with like the lack of indie games at E3 in general. So I like how PC Gaming Conference, they show off lots of like small titles. That's great. Everyone gets relatively enough shine. So it has its purpose, but I can deal with not watching it. I mean, I didn't watch it this year because I watched like the first half and I'm like, this is kind of dull.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. What do you think of this year's PC conference?
I'll let you know when I finish watching it. Okay.
By the way, did you guys see the Devolver Digital one? I heard that was a really good one, but I didn't see it.
No.
I heard that it was just like a massive like parody of like E3 in general.
It was literally madness. It literally looked like something that would be put together for Adult Swim. Like just madness. And there was random guests showing up. These guys were yelling at each other, like started tossing each other around and stuff. And then they cut to these weird segments. And then they cut to like backyard wrestling. They were doing I think they were just throwing up a middle finger to the whole like what a conference is and whatever, and they're just having fun. Some of them were drunk during it. It's streamed awesome. For hours.
Wow.
I think in general it explains why the Devolver digital booth is not even in the E3 thing. They're just
they're doing their own thing,
Yeah. I just give them points for just flying in the face of all the seriousness of everyone's conference. They just put this shit. They didn't even show most of their games, and when the ones they played weren't even current. Like that's how much they didn't give a shit about that.
That's funny. All right, anybody else have any other thoughts about E3s?
Just quick fire round on like the rest of the guys. Ubisoft did well. Okay, the Crew 2 looks amazing. I like that. And I was there when the Crew 1 first launched, and everyone was saying that it's a shit. I'm like, look, just wait. And then the Crew 2 just came off, and now everyone's excited. And yes, I'm looking at you, Blackstar.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm surprised about Ubisoft is that they didn't announce or even put a teaser for the Division 2. I thought they were going to do that, or a Season 2 for the Division.
The Division is just dying out slowly right now, very slowly. Microsoft did well on games, but they need to understand. Wait, can someone please buy them a dictionary, because they don't seem to understand what the word exclusive means.
Yes.
Obviously, everything means exclusive. What are you talking about?
Exclusive, it just means not on PlayStation now these days.
It's exclusive. It's exclusive. You know what makes it an exclusive? That it uses an Xbox controller instead of a PlayStation 4 controller.
It's just dumb. It's that's not exclusive. World premiere exclusive. Exclusive. No, it's not an exclusive. It's just a console launch exclusive, which is the dumbest thing ever.
Console launch exclusive is another word for timed exclusive. Why the fuck are we changing the names of shit?
Because they're changing the name, just like they're changing what 4K means. They're changing what this means to make it seem like they have more things that are specific to the Xbox console.
I propose a drinking game, right? I want somebody to go back and watch the Microsoft E3 conference, right? Every time they say the word exclusive, take a fucking shot. Let's see how drunk you get by the halfway through the show.
You get too drunk.
It's ridiculous. Go ahead, man.
Sony's it was kind of a letdown because I was expecting them to show a bunch of stuff that I was waiting for. Before Kojima already said that Death Stranding was not going to be there, but I was expecting stuff to release for Last of Us. Deep Down, I'm also expecting stuff for Deep Down every single year. I'm like, Deep Down, come on, Deep Down. Yeah, just it was kind of just and GT Sport, no love for GT Sport, guys. I mean, it's one of the longest running franchises on PlayStation. It's come on, have some, not respect, but at least show hey guys, GT Sport is here. Here you go.
Hold on. I need to jump in with this because this is what I found stupid. Right? Apparently, they showed GT Sport and Knack and a bunch of other games at a pre-show.
Ni no Kuni 2 also.
Yeah, Ni no Kuni 2, all this other shit.
Why?
Why? Show it at the actual show,
Yeah, pretty much all the games that were inside of that. Obviously we couldn't see the pre-show because we're waiting to go in. But you remember that's the thing that Malik was posting.
Yeah. Well, we were mingling that time.
So we were mingling and stuff. It's sad though. When we were in that room, we could have played all those games that were on the show floor right away.
That's true.
We could have played Detroit. We could have. I only got to play that Final Fantasy Dissidia game.
Yeah, but I was too busy eating the hot dogs inside of a pretzel. That was beautiful. But yeah, but I do find it kind of bullshit that or funny, take it however you want, that people at home got to see way more shit than we did. You know, there was a bunch of pre-shows and other shows going on at E3. You know,
it further shows that officially you don't actually need to be at E3 to get a full full heft of what E3 is. I mean, the most, obviously, with us being there, you get our impressions. But again, we're not a crew. It's only me and Tony, and sometimes Chris and the Coalition guys. And yeah, even between us, we couldn't get to play everything that was there
or see everything. All these trailers. I haven't seen like maybe 75% of the trailers I got shown. But anyway, go keep going. Whoever the fuck was going. I think it was Brian. I already forgot.
Nintendo, it looked okay. That JPEG was awesome.
The hottest JPEG of all times.
The question I asked about that one was: is it canon? Is Metroid Prime now canon or not canon?
I don't think it is.
I don't think they make up their mind. Oh no, I got it. It depends who develops it.
Oh, okay.
If they're Japanese, then yes.
That's a good point.
Yeah, but overall it was okay. I didn't see some of the games that I wanted, so I guess I'm more excited to see what Sony has in Gamescom and PSX because I want to see what GT Sport looks like. And sorry to say this, but I'm still not sold on Spider-Man yet.
The
combat just looks way too much like Arkham, and I'm just not a fan of that type combat. But
I'm guessing you're not looking forward to Shadow War then.
I'm looking to Shadow War because Shadow War has some cool gameplay stuff. And what's up with the stupid amount of QuickTime events? Or was just that sequence just had a lot of QuickTime events?
Something about that sequence because a lot of people believe that it was on rails or whatever. It's just locked in like that. It's just like a Telltale games. Apparently, and this Tatiana, she saw the game behind closed doors, and the guy who was demoing it went in a completely different route. There were still certain sections that still happened exactly the same, but you could still go where you want. I'm guessing they showed you the most quote unquote cinematic part, just so it looks cool. But it is an open world game, Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems a bit too much QuickTime events.
Yeah, I agree. I'm probably the only dude on earth saying this. When I saw that, I'm like, oh my god, thank you. I like QuickTime events. I miss them in games, So I'm like, good, thank you for bringing it back.
You got them in the order.
Yeah, that's true. But that's how long ago was that?
You had 2 boss fights with QuickTime events.
I guess the Telltale games are QuickTime events too, but I like them. Good, thank you. Bring it back. Because there's been a bunch of times where I'm playing games. I'm like, can I get a QuickTime event here? I'm just watching shit, Anyway, Brian, go on.
Yep. I just bring it to the end. I'm not too excited for Spider-Man. God of War, I'll probably get on principle because I don't want the God of War franchise to fail.
Yeah. Hey, Brett, I got a question for you. I don't know if this applies to you, but I'm going to ask you anyway. What do you think of Monster Hunter coming back to PlayStation?
I was surprised. I'm happy about it. I don't know how Western audiences will receive it. I've never actually played a Monster Hunter game myself, so I don't really get what the big thing is, but I get why it's kind of exciting, and so it might end up very much being my type of game. So I'm excited to try it, but that was just a boat I missed, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I played a little bit of the old Monster Hunter games are fucking terrible. I know they're really popular, but the control wise is bad. This shit looked cool. And Brett, I guess it is a good thing I asked you because this game seems like you could use the environment in a lot of unique ways to trap the monsters. The other games didn't do that, So what do you think about that? Like setting up your own traps and shit.
Well, from everything that I saw, yeah, it incorporates, utilizing your environment. It incorporates a lot of kind of survival game elements. It requires that you put time in, and I've heard some people complain about, well, it's not just straight hack and slash action. You actually have to go out and train and hunt and track and survive and cook and craft. And I was like, oh, well, I mean, those are all things that I like in a game. So, when people generally say there's too much downtime in this game, that's when my ears perk up a little bit. And I'm like, okay, well, I kind of like that. It's not quite a grind, but it's preparation, and it's, I'm a big advocate of there need to be quiet moments in games to to balance out, there have to be lows to balance out the highs. So I'm generally excited about what I saw.
And it's a co-op game too. I know you like that.
Yeah, I mean everything about what I saw, I am excited about, and so maybe the old Monster Hunter games weren't like this, but this one looks like it's really good.
One thing I saw with that game is that they have a dynamic reactive system between all of the creatures. So the creatures actually, you can actually use two creatures to distract each other, or if you were trying to get away. And also a lot of creatures actually eat each other. There's one sequence that one creature was fighting another one, and then it eventually started eating the other one, and then it became fat and started like waddling away.
I guess I could talk about this now. When I saw a behind closed doors thing, but it was open to the public, so I guess I could talk about it. By the way, there was this one guy next to me. This guy must have been, I'm sorry, this guy must have been retarded. Monster Hunter, I'm happy. Wow. Like, I'm like, yo, my man, shut the fuck up. What's wrong with you? Anyway, so, he's being chased by like the Dilophosaurus kind of monster, right? And then this dude did something crazy. He led this thing all the way up to a Rathalos nest. If you don't know what a Rathalos is, it's basically this giant fucking dragon. So he just sat back and let Rathalos take care of this thing. It was fucking insane, But then it got to a point where the monster, when you whittle the monster down to a certain health, it'll run back to its own nest. So you got to go back in there and get it. And this is the time where you plan what weapons are you going to bring, what equipment are you going to get? Because even though it's dying and it is in its own nest, so it's more dangerous. So you really got to like strategize and shit. I thought that was pretty cool, but that sequence where I'm like, it was like, let them fight. Fucking awesome. So yeah, it looks like, again, I'm not a Monster Hunter fan. Like I remember hearing about Monster Hunter on G4, right? X-Play, right? Like they got a game called Monster Hunter. This is going to be fucking crazy. Then I played some of it. I played one on PS2 and then a little bit on PSP. Horrible fucking controls, so but this one looks legit, and then like Manny said, they haven't changed the game. So all this time it's been the PS2 game basically.
They've been all the previous games are just rehashes of the old PS2 version. Stuff build on stuff. But at its core, even up to the Wii version, it's always been the PlayStation 2 one with a slight spit shine to it. They're still using the same models, same stuff. This one looks like a new Monster Hunter built from the ground up or built on something. Where essentially you have higher resolution models, you have a more reactive system. I'm sure in this one, unlike the previous Monster Hunter games where they had load areas where essentially, you had these pretty big environments, but once you got to the end of them, it would have to load the other environment, which I think this one is just going to be one big, huge open world as opposed to, sections.
Yeah, exactly. It's called Monster Hunter World. So pretty crazy stuff, Go ahead, Ben.
Can I talk about the fact, like, I know nobody else seems to be excited about it, but does the fact that we saw so many mainline VR games announced, even though some of them are obviously ports, but like, does that speak of any weight to anybody other than myself?
Yes, just you. Like I saw a bunch of EVR games. I'm like, really, guys, you're really going with this shit? I still don't think VR is going anywhere, to be honest.
I think, in the VR realm, I think it's interesting to see them trying to do different sorts of things with it. I think that's cool. I mean, we'll see what happens with these sorts of genres that they're kind of dipping their toes into, and see which one works.
I'm super excited about like even Skyrim VR. Like, do you like on PC one of the games that's put on VR the most, and was the first one that they tried to like hack their way into was Skyrim. Like that was essentially the game a lot of VR enthusiasts dreamed of being able to play in VR. And while I understand Skyrim is old news and everybody's sick of it, like, oh great, Nintendo just announced it too, and it's just Skyrim. But it's at the same time, like if you want to play it and you're into VR, like that sounds like one of the best ways to play it. And so there are a lot of people who are excited by this idea, as rehashed as it sounds.
Yeah. So okay. So you're excited by all that other VR stuff. I know you told me the Bethesda stuff you really liked.
I'm very excited about both Fallout and Skyrim in VR because I think an open world Bethesda game is one of the best fits for VR. You spend 90% of your time walking around and looking at scenery, going from quest to quest, and then talking to people. Like, it's not a super action heavy game, and especially if, like, you allow me to swing a controller around to use a sword or to use a controller to use a sword, just let me look around. Like, if you give me multiple options depending on how much I want to do, like, that is the ultimate environment for a VR playground, in my opinion. Doom seems a little fast-paced, honestly. I think, and it's got kind of that weird teleportation thing that you still rely on. Like, I think that still has some kinks to be knocked out, but I'm excited to see Doom finally coming into VR because that was kind of where it started. And so the fact that it's, Doom VR was used to sell the idea of VR to companies, to manufacturers. It was one of the reasons that John Cormack came on board with Oculus and helped birth the idea of the VR headset. So you're essentially seeing where a game that has been everybody's dream meets a game that got everybody excited about VR. So in a certain way, this is old to a lot of people, but it's also the stuff that got people really excited about it to begin with. And it's getting into the hands of mainstream gamers. So do I think that this is exciting? Yeah, very much so, because I think the best way that you're going to sell somebody on your PSVR is by putting them in, Fallout or even Skyrim. I mean, that Skyrim may be a great watermark for it because you've played the game before. You put it on in a VR headset and it feels like a completely new experience, even though it's a tired old game. That's going to speak volumes. So I'm excited about the fact that it seems to be coming more into prominence. I'm excited about the good response that Farpoint has got. I'm excited about the fact that they seem to be pushing it. And Bethesda really did double down. I mean, then most people, I understand you're not super excited about their conference because 70% of it is VR and you don't care. But the fact that a big developer puts that much interest in VR, like, that should alone say something, in my opinion, that the industry as a whole has not poo-pooed this. That they are.
I mean, the only thing I don't know if it's that much of an effort into it because we were talking to a developer who was converting one of their previous titles into a VR title, and they only said they had like a few person team doing this.
Yeah, it's not. It was to me a real. It was the Talos Principle guys.
Yeah, it was the guys that created Talos Principle. I mean, they only had we were literally sitting in the room with a portion of the team. It was only a few guys. The thing is, like, yes, it's cool to see Bethesda taking the effort and putting somebody into it, but wouldn't a real effort be to actually make a full on new game with VR rather than taking an old game?
Yeah, and just converting it or VR now.
What happened?
Do you not think that their next game will support VR now? I mean, this is essentially the test bed.
It is a test bed, and if it fails, they probably won't keep doing it.
Was it just a bullshit rumor about Grand Theft Auto being 5?
Probably a rumor.
VR version.
By the way, I do need to say
no. They are specifically not doing it in a VR version. One of the creative leads actually played through a version of GTA and basically said, it's a little bit too much. Like, I don't want to say it's too immersive, but he said murdering somebody in VR is a very different experience than murdering somebody in your normal video game setting. And he personally found it actually kind of disturbing. And so the idea of jacking cars and beating prostitutes in VR just didn't even sit well with the GTA team.
Yeah, I heard about that. But the thing is, I just want to quickly say, because I did play Talos Principle in VR. I loved Talos Principle, the actual real game. I thought it was great. Playing that shit in VR was so cumbersome. Like, you had these the HTC Vive controllers, which were weird, and just trying to move around was so odd. I don't know why they didn't just give me a normal controller. That would have been fine. But I do need to say this, because that HTC Vive headset, which is the most expensive one out there, was easily the best fucking headset I've ever put on. Not only was it comfortable, you didn't get that weird distortion and shit. You know, when you look at stuff, everything looked nice and crisp. You know, but at the same time, since the game was so cumbersome, like the game is a puzzle game, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm trying to fuck with these controls and then try to do puzzles at the same time. It wasn't really gelling for me, you know. And then I also played Serious Sam in VR, and it was basically a light gun game, you know, like an arcade light gun game. You're in one place and you're shooting shit. You know, I'm like, again, guys, you're just rolling around with these fucking gimmick games. You know, like I understand Talos Principle wasn't really a gimmick game. It was an actual game. It's just the interface was so crazy, you know. But the other Serious Sam game was just like just shooting. It's like that's cool, but it's not something you want to plunk down money for, you know. Like,
well, that's why I think Bethesda is the perfect venue for these, because it's already a world where you can walk around and look at anything and pick up anything off a table and interact with it. I mean, that's the kind of game that you need. You don't need a light rail game. That's not what's going to make any kind of impression. What's going to make an impression is putting people in a virtual world.
Yeah, but again, you know, I even me, I'm like, hey, do you want to play Skyrim in VR? No, I'll play it normally. Like, why do I need VR? You know,
to slightly go back to the guys that made Talos Principle. You didn't see this because you had the VR headset on, but they were actually looking at you quite a bit.
Really?
Because you are
because of my body.
No, because you are unique. You are a unique situation because you do not stand at the normal height of a person that.
That got me in trouble too. There was that final puzzle I couldn't complete because I was too low. You know, so I'm like I can't.
Tony literally had to reach up. Like, in other words, like he's trying to reach up onto a shelf and try to do this puzzle like that.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad they saw that because like, hey guys, you know, this shit is not for everybody, you know. But all right, yeah, but yeah, no, I guess Brett, you are alone in this, I guess, you know, with the whole VR stuff. But we'll see. We could be wrong. You might be the right guy here, you know.
A lot of people bought Farpoint apparently.
Yeah, you're right. I was surprised by that. Like 16 shit. You know, I know that's not top 10, but it's still top 20.
I didn't know there were that many VR headsets out there to support cracking the top 20.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a million of them out there at least. You know, so I could see that. And let's just be honest. Farpoint's the first like real game that we have for this thing in fucking months. You know, not that Ghostbuster shit. You know,
or everybody getting their pants wet by Resident Evil.
Yeah, nobody wants to play that shit. It's too scary, man. Too scary.
Yeah, that's like a bad dare. I have Resident Evil sitting on my coffee table and my VR headset, and I still can't. Like, I was like, "Come on, guys, who wants to try?" And everyone's like, "No way in hell, no way, fuck you."
Okay, all right, man. I think that's gonna do it for us. So once again, I want to give a quick shout out to Kofi, the Press Start podcast crew. Go check them out. If you go to the Throwdown crossover section, you know, in our playlist is right there. Go check it out. Very fun show. We talk about some other things that happened this week. This week was kind of slow, but you know, we still had some good spillover from E3. And that's gonna do it. So thank you for watching and listening. Subscribe to Throwdown on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTubes. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Throwdown Show. Links are located in the description below. Once again, our show is Tony Polanco. Tonight is joined by Emilio Lopez.
I'll see you later, guys.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, take care, everyone.
Carlos Romero.
Peace out.
Brett Murdoch.
Deuces.
Adam Vale.
Titanfall 2, free DLC, coming next week. And watch some Lucha, because that's what we do.
And Brian Manjoma.
Go buy some DC Rebirth. It's surprisingly good.
Yes, my man. Buy it now. All right, we'll see you next time. Later.
Later.
See you, everybody.
Hey, guys.
Oh, man.